All right.
This is on your personal page, or which page is it on? I'll share it. Let's see it.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. As you can now hear, you probably don't hear Greg James on the radio. What you do hear is Christy Henry, and I am so glad to be here today with our monthly conscious check-in. This show is committed to breaking down high-level economic development, community development conversations so that lay people can be activated, empowered, and engaged. So we thank you all so much for being here today. And I want to give a shout out to my co-host for this afternoon, the Apostle, Otis Young of Kingdom Life Tabernacle Ministries and so many other ministries. Welcome here, Apostle, Pastor, Reverend, Brother Young. We appreciate having you here.
Listen, I am elated. I am ecstatic, excited about being in the studio today. It's an honor. This is the first time I've been on with the Christy Henry. Okay? Now you have Doctor and you have Reverend, but there's the Christy Henry. All right. Listen, she's a mover, a shaker, and a motivator. Now listen, I need you to tag. We're also on Craig James. We're on Facebook Live right now. So
that's right.
Tag and share with a neighbor. And if you are listening, call a friend and tell them you do not want to miss that Power Pack show. There is so much greatness in the room. When I walked in, I heard the Lord say greatness. There's greatness in the room. There were some critical thinkers in here, and we want to catapult you to that next place and level of thinking. And what she said is key. It's going to be activation, impartation, and not just motivation, but we're moving forward into that place of greatness. So thank you, Christy, for inviting me, and I'm just glad to be included.
Y'all better be, look, he just talking to the people, y'all. So listen, we are here. It's 2:00. Go ahead. And like he said, the master said, share, tag, post. Today is going to be an excellent conversation.
Yes.
And Pastor Young, I'm trying to figure out which one I'm going to call you today. Because you're so many. Mr. Young, Brother Young. We know that we have here in Tallahassee many innovative approaches to ensuring that there's educational equity available for our students.
Yes.
You personally have a preschool and preparatory academy.
Yes, we
do.
You
understand the importance of ensuring that there's an ecosystem of attainment as it relates to education within our community and how that translates into future opportunities for career, which is the spirit of today's show.
Correct.
Can you speak a little bit on that as we prepare to introduce our audience to our guests?
Yes. And to break it down to what we call an elementary, the LC, the lowest common denominator. Basically, what I heard you say is that we want to address the digital divide, the economic equities, disparities that may exist within Tallahassee, to bridge the gap between the two worlds. Because just because I have an economic disparity does not mean that I am slow or that I'm not smart or intelligent. I just may not have had the same experiences or have the same exposure that other people have had. So today's show is designed to give you that exposure to make sure that you are properly cultivated. Kingdom Life Preparatory Academy is not your traditional private school. 98% of our students qualify for free and reduced lunch, but I told my students today, listen, I ate free and reduced lunch. I was at the back of the line, and we came through. I said, Otis Young free.
Amen.
Okay, but that did not limit the fact that I came to Fort Ingham University, got 2 degrees, and was able to go and get my doctorate because of exposure. My mama would say when we go to church, you go with Deacon Leach. Deacon Leach went to FAMU and got me to get you some experience and let them teach you how to talk right and stuff like that and be bilingual. Mama said you bilingual. When you come to the family reunion, you talk one way. When you get in front of people that are educated and you're in certain settings, you better dot every I and cross every T and articulate appropriately.
That's right. And I think translation culturally of educational attainment is
Yes.
critical
Yeah,
in
it is.
this hour, because when we're thinking about our community and some of the socioeconomic gaps that we experience, some of the questions that we don't seem to be able to answer as we generationally approach what does the future of our community look like?
Correct.
It starts where you're at and then it ends where all of our folks here at. So we hope to create that picture of what we call educational that leads to economic attainment here on Conscious Check today. We will introduce you to our guests after a short break, and we look forward to an awesome conversation. We're on StreamYard, on Facebook Live, streaming right now. Get your questions ready. Hello. We see some of y'all already saying hello. And for all of you out there in the audience, call in today. You're going to want to call in and get your questions answered. Doc got you on the line. So after a minute break, we'll return and we'll introduce you to our fiery guests today.
I love it. I love it. that exposure experience is so key in this hour, especially the younger the better.
Yeah.
The younger the better. You know, with us being in South City, there's a difference in South Side, and then there's a difference in South City, and some of the challenges that we face even within pre-K, with students coming in knowing nothing.
Yeah, I'm involved I'm on the Children's Services Council, so I can talk about that if you want to, a little bit, because it's all about early child development.
Yes,
right.
yes, it
And
is.
then I'm also on the South City Foundation. Actually,
We're
we're on the South City Foundation.
We're on it, okay.
Are you on it?
No, I was a long time ago.
But that's definitely, South City is
it's unique.
it's
different.
unique. It's a community in its own.
It is.
Especially mentoring. I'm on Big Brothers Big Sisters board, and
Yes.
that is something that gives the students an opportunity to be able to see if they don't have it in their own family. Because I think you spoke a little bit about
Yes.
your mom and how she's.
That's right.
Yes,
So
Mhm.
having that mentor is also critical.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. That's right.
We have to network on mentors.
So
We're working on
listen,
students'
we are
mentors.
coming back. We are coming back. All right. Thank you, Doc. We are back. Y'all, we were having the meeting before the meeting. I'm sorry. When you get to talk about educational attainment and
Yes,
generational outcomes in communities, and you get a bunch of folk that know what they're talking about, you are going to have a whole conversation. And we are very blessed to have here today a great man, a friend, the president of the Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare System, which is the healthcare system for our community, in addition to Capital. Did I get it right? I want to say it right because it was Capital.
That's a separate system.
It's a
Yes.
separate system, but this is our primary
That's more
healthcare
healthcare.
system in our community, Tallahassee Memorial
Yes, we are
Healthcare.
the community-owned, community-directed
Okay.
regional safety net
Make it plain.
provider.
Make it plain. So
Yes.
when you got to go to the emergency room, you go on to TMH. All right. So we definitely want to welcome Mark O'Brien to our audience today. And we also have in the house from TCC. Many of y'all know him. You love him. You've seen him in the community on many different occasions. Mr. Anthony Jones. He is no stranger to the entire community, science fair, all the stuff. Welcome to the show. This is our Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs at Tallahassee Community College. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris Henry. We go way back all the way with the calendar and Marcus Nicholas, who really brought us together. Just great to be here and talk about something that I'm definitely passionate about and know is very important and vital to our community's existence and its sustainability. So thank you for having me.
Amen. And then we have she ain't new to the crew. She's been in education for over 20 years, but she has now ascended to the role and title of a very innovative approach that TCC is taking to address and to impact ninth through 12th grade education, and hopefully it'll impact K through 12. She is the new director of charter schools for Tallahassee Community College. Welcome, Miss Jessica Chapman.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. Y'all got me fired up just with that opening discussion that we had off air. So I'm really excited to be part of this discussion.
And listen, I was telling her, I said, you didn't have to switch your colors to go to the new school. You was able to keep your royal blue. Yes. Well, listen, this is a really important conversation today because last month when we had Ed Murray and Sammy Dixon here from the chamber, they said two things. The first thing they said is that the future of our community and its development is probably going to be impacted by the need for more persons in the realm of healthcare professions and construction trades. And then the next thing that they said was there are currently not enough qualified candidates to fulfill the demand for jobs within our region. That struck me, right? So, of course, Mark being the president of our healthcare system here, community-owned, community-driven, talk to us about that. What does that mean when they say that there's not enough qualified persons to fulfill jobs available to the community?
Well, in healthcare in particular, it's a growing sector. About $1 out of every $6, almost $1 out of every $5 in this country gets spent on healthcare. And if you think about the aging demographic, baby boomers moving up, healthcare costs aren't linear across a lifetime. They grow as people get older. And so the demand curve is going up. Now we're going to figure out how to maintain the cost to make sure it's affordable for everybody and everybody has access. But it does speak to the job security that comes by being in healthcare. And in our system, we have everything from, people working like me in an office, to people in environmental services, to nurses, to doctors, to a nuclear physicist. We have all sorts of people all connected together to provide a total service, a comprehensive service to our community. So we have people all over the map. But what we recognize is that the quality of our work really is defined by the quality of our workforce.
Indeed.
And if we want to provide a high quality level of care to our community, it starts with them. We could spend millions upon millions of dollars for buildings and equipment, but if it's always the people who control, run, and engage with the patients on those issues. So what we look for is people who match up with our values. We try to create an environment where we would like people to spend their entire professional life with us, their career life with us. Then we know that's not always possible. But one of the things that we work on is to give people the opportunity for professional development.
Okay.
So, for example, it's like a scholarship. We remind people, but as people come to work for TMH, if you stay there, and I think the requirement is if you're there for 6 months and you want to enhance your education and development, if it's a health-related field, for example, nursing, respiratory therapy, radiology, technology, we will pay for that for you as long as you make fees. It's like a scholarship, and we'll work with you on your scheduling, et cetera. Now, a lot of people don't want to do that. They enjoy their job wherever it is. But we have a lot of people who, you talk about educational opportunities, and my own personal story, not my story, but my family's story, is my dad always would tell us that education is a great equalizer.
Mm-hmm.
It's the one that gives people opportunities. And he came from dirt poor farmers from eastern Arkansas. They didn't have plumbing until he was a teenager.
Have mercy.
He was the youngest boy in his family. I remember he and my Uncle Donnie talking about when they were younger, they said they had to get the H out of that place when they were like 11 or 12. And they were smart young men, but just didn't have a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
But they went into the military as soon as they graduated. My father, we're talking about military, my father was a Marine sergeant, and then went through college on the GI Bill.
Oh, wow.
And that's what gave him his break. That was his escape. And that was what gave him the big equalizing effect. And so I come from a big family of 6 kids, and there was no doubt we were always going to be educated because he knew that was the way to do it. So people have different pathways to education. Some people aren't raised in families where education has been a model experience for them. They don't come out of that background, but that doesn't mean they're not capable.
Right.
I have found a ton of people who are smarter than I am who have no degrees, but they haven't had the opportunity to get those degrees. And sometimes those degrees are the tickets to the show, so to speak.
That's right.
So the opportunity we try to provide people is come to work for us. If you want to make a career development, we will help you get those degrees. We will help you become a nurse or radiology technologist or one of those key critical factors. And you can make a career out of that. Not only is it a great career from a income perspective, a very stable career, but quite frankly, you're also touching people's lives. You become a lifesaver. You're impacting the quality of health of our entire community, and you're saving lives one life at a time. Sometimes it's on the preventative side, sometimes it's on the direct care side, but it's really meaningful work. And I don't want to say that there aren't other great jobs for people to have. But I do have a bias in healthcare. I do think that we really do touch people's lives in a different way. People give us that trust. We call it a sacred trust at TMH. We have been given a
Right.
sacred trust by our patients and their family members. And it's our job to live up to that. But to do that, we have to have the right people with the right values. And we want to give everybody as much as possible that opportunity to grow and learn and have education as a tool for that.
That's right. That's right. I know. I see you stirring the pot over
I
there.
know, I am, I'm trying to be real good. I
Go ahead.
appreciate
Go ahead.
coming
Go
up.
ahead.
But I think it's so key what you did, that we've identified critical shortage areas. And I was talking to my students just about this earlier, that we have 3 different tracks. Some people are going to college, some people are going into like a trade track.
Mhm.
But just because you go on a trade does not mean you can't make money.
That's right.
I have to pay my
Oh,
plumber for an after hours call, like $125 an hour.
Yes,
I
you do,
miss
yes.
my calling. You're right. And so I want to encourage those that are listening to say, okay, let me make a conscious effort that maybe my child may not be going to college, but I can go to CNA, I can do other areas of trade in the area of construction, or since you're healthcare bias, you know what I'm saying, from that medical technician and work my way up. And that gives me an opportunity to make a decent living of, above $15 an hour.
That's right.
Oh, look at what welders make. I have some friends actually, I know 2 people who have children going into welding. And they talk about that the college track wasn't for them,
Yes.
Right.
but then they talk specifically about welding as you're talking about plumbing. But welders make more money than a lot of attorneys make, honestly.
Wow.
They do quite well. And you look at that and you think, and it's a good thing that not everybody's the same. We don't need everyone to be an accountant or
Right.
a nurse. We need accountants, we need nurses, but we also need welders. We also need truck drivers. We need everybody doing all this.
Yes.
Because if everybody wanted to do the same thing,
Correct.
it would be a crisis environment.
Yeah.
But I think from an educational standpoint, we need to give exposure to different things, like what you talked about in neuroscience and other things. That's areas that we may have been in the box coming up, that the only thing that we could do is what we've been exposed to seeing.
That's
But there are other
That's-
professions that are out there that that are inquisitive, that you can connect with, computer programming and things of that nature. That is, I'm telling you that. And so I've been doing my very best to expose our students to just other things besides the traditional track, which we do need teachers. Lord knows it's a shortage of teachers,
Right.
but if there are other professions out there that may not have had exposure, never even heard of, that you can make an honest, clean living. And I am not being stereotypical, but I was expressing to my students, we don't want you to go the street track. You feel like you got to be an illegal pharmacist. And that is my terminology that I use, but that you can call up in the game easily.
Right.
When there is an honest way that you can do it and not have to look over your shoulder, and you can create generational wealth and generational favor and blessing for your family and break the cycle.
Mhm.
Well, give people an economic alternative to crime and they'll take it.
Yes. Yes.
That's the key.
I grab that
mean,
word. I grab that. Economic alternative. Yes.
So, and since we're talking about economic alternatives, so the average wage based on the dashboard from OEB countywide, 900 and I believe 37 a week. Of course, that's not the reality in some of the communities that we focus and target.
Correct.
But when you talk about even 937 a week, which is roughly about 1,000 a month,
Mhm.
and you talk about that being about 4,000 a month, and we haven't even taken out taxes yet, the cost of living,
Right.
the
Right.
cost of utilities,
Correct.
the need for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. You know, it really boils down to how are we approaching how we give and display opportunity. And can you give us some insight? I know our friends from TCC can also give us some insight. Talk about the wage opportunity here, because when you go into healthcare systems, the wage can start on the lower level, where?
Well, right now we try to be ahead of the state. The state right now, I think the minimum wage is 11.
It's 11.
We move up. We're moving up. We're 12, 11, and we're moving up. We're trying to get to the 15 2 years before the state.
Okay.
But for direct healthcare workers, so our minimum is 12, 11. We're trying to move that up to 1350-ish this year, and then move it up to 15 next year. That's our goal. But if you're in a direct healthcare role, if you're, for example, a patient care assistant or a nursing assistant or one of those, it's 15 minimum right now. So that for all of those people, it's 15 right off the bat, and then you can move it from there.
Wow. So entry level, you're coming in at 15.
Yeah,
Right.
In direct patient care roles.
And that's CNAs.
CNAs,
Mhm.
PCAs, all of that if you're in
CNAs.
a direct patient care environment, yes.
Okay, and so I think that it's important as we're talking about this, that people connect the economic value
Yes.
of these opportunities, right? Because the sale ain't, we need you. The sale is, what am I going to get out of taking the time to go through a line of
Yes,
studies, to go
yes,
through a
yes,
line of
right.
training? So I
Yes.
think that is essentially important. And I think back to the innovation that TCC and TMH had back in the day, prior to this conversation, as a result, I think of the opportunity divide conversation, where y'all have a campus near Tallahassee Memorial Hospital, right? And so
Very
kind of
beneficial.
share a little bit the thought process, right, between all of you. That's preemptive, right, to this kind of situation we find ourselves in with this professional and human resource crunch. Can you speak to that a bit?
Well, years ago, this was probably, I've been here for 2 or 3 years. We had a piece of land that Bill Gadice and MT Mushkin had purchased. It was 84 acres way back when, in the 80s. It was undeveloped. It was unused land, and we were trying to figure out the best use of that land. And we recognized, going back to the workforce opportunities, that we needed to create opportunities close by in the healthcare environment to develop those roles. So we set aside a property, a piece of land of that block for educational development. And we went to TCC. They were the first ones who grabbed hold of it. It was Bill Law at the time and Dr. Murdaugh moved forward with that. FSU and FEMU. And so we've got this land and it's available for community health development for educational concerns. And TCC was, at that point in time, looking to build on Appleyard,
Correct.
a health educational facility.
Oh, wow.
But looking at that, when you think about the students having to do their clinicals in hospitals and moving back and forth,
The synergy, it was just perfect.
It was perfect.
When you
Wow.
put the
So-
two together, our students were able to look right down the street to see the future of where they're going. In TMH, they were even able to come over and start recruiting. We've had a number of events where we invite TMH over. They actually have access to our state-of-the-art simulation center, which I'll mention is one of the only community colleges in the region to have an accredited simulation center.
All
So
right now.
we're very proud of that.
Mhm.
just one note, I got to say this when it talks about that. I had a physician who toured that a few years ago, your Gaswini Health Center, Education Center. He said it was more sophisticated than the medical school he went to.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that speaks to
Check
the
it
quality.
out now, because we just completely done a whole new side of the building to have 2 simulation centers at the state of the art. We're looking to expand and grow. We understand that there is a critical shortage of healthcare workers. And this goes all the way down to EMS, EMT persons. We're
Oh,
just
good.
on a call today, trying to think of innovative ways to increase dual enrollment opportunities. Going to your point earlier, getting in there for students before they even graduate high school.
Correct.
Coming out with credentials that are stackable, scaffolding, taking something from a diploma, turning it into an AS degree, and who knows, maybe a bachelor's, master's, professional degree. But it's giving them the confidence that they can do the work at a collegiate level, but also giving them something when they come out of high school that they can put to work, and that they can get a sustainable,
Yes.
livable wage of income, and also a respectful job. I mean, many students coming out of high school, if they don't go to college, they find whatever job they can get. If they can say they're working in a healthcare field as an EMT, and then they can also go on and get their paramedic license, this is something that starts to break down those barriers where we didn't see that opportunity for some of our underrepresented populations in the community.
Wow, I love it. And one of the initiatives we've done, my wife is a nurse by profession. Hopefully she's listening. Hey, honey. But she gave her a job for ministry to do the books at the school, the church. Long story short, we have 3 students that we've identified for CNA, and one wants to be in CNA permanently. The other 2 just want to make $15 an hour to work at Burger King or McDonald's while they go through school. You know, they have an extra. And so we've identified that they created a 7th period and even the 8th period, they still live after school and are studying to once they leave, they'll leave with a diploma
Mhm.
and they'll, by faith, knock on wood, pass exam. We're preparing them they'll leave with what they need for the CNA exam. So when they graduate, they'll have the dual. If you just want to go start right there, wonderful. If not, you can get it with TMH. They'll probably pay for you to work your way into an RN, an RN BSN, an RN, ARNP. And so we've identified that we want to create those opportunities in those areas. So I feel good that I'm on the cutting edge. I'm sharpening right here.
That's smart though.
Yes,
That
yes,
is smart.
yes.
Smart.
Well, I think that leads into the bigger question here, because we're talking about opportunity divides, right? We're talking about a perpetual gnawing need to make sure that certain populations, certain demographics,
Yes.
certain folk in our community reach up and are caught, right, in regards to opportunity, educational attainment that leads to economic attainment, because that's what we're talking about.
Yes,
An approach to economic attainment that destabilizes crime, that gives people the option and opportunity to live a higher quality of life and dignity of life here. But it starts in K through 12. It starts in the schools. And so I know, Jessica, you have had extensive background working with the school system. Let's talk about that. I mean,
Okay.
and definitely, we're going to get into what is happening at TCC, but in general, let's kind of discuss the opportunity gaps. Where are they? Why are they? In your perspective, what is our approach to begin to erode those gaps?
Yeah, well, so in looking at the Stanford Center of Opportunity Policy and Education, all of the gaps, there are so many things. Your child care center addresses some, healthcare addresses some, access to good nutrition, dental, eye care, having a safe, welcoming school environment, broad, rich curriculum, summer enrichment programs. And all of those things are things that I know that our local school district does very well, but there are some additional things that we can do to support. And that's where the college is coming in with a program.
Mm-hmm.
So in February of this year, the state of Florida awarded 5 state colleges a $2 million grant to start up a STEM charter school. So Northwest Florida State College, Tallahassee Community College, of course, Santa Fe College, St. Pete College, and Miami-Dade College we are all on the same journey right now, opening up a STEM charter school. And the idea is that students will earn their high school diploma and a degree in an AS field at the same time.
Okay.
So we're looking at the nursing degree. I've mapped it out. They will have to take summer school several summers in a row to make it happen, but it's doable
Mhm.
because essentially students will be taking college classes that will take the place of that high school requirement. And so really with strategic mapping, student-centered decisions, academic planning and coaching, students will be able to do this. And it will be possible because we are going to have high expectations, but where there's high expectations, we're also going to have high support, meaning real rigor, but also real care for students. And that's something that has been my expertise for 20 years. Just the wraparound support services is so important. And we're not here to be social workers, but we're here to pinpoint and comprehensively address the issues that impact students and their ability to access the opportunity. So the opportunities are there,
Right.
but it's what barriers are in the way of the student and their ability to access the
Right.
opportunities.
Mhm.
And so whether it's inside of the school or outside,
Right.
there's limiting factors in the community or within their family or wherever. And so some of the things that we are doing to address that, we're providing transportation to this school. We've looked at the Star Metro Gadsden route even, and guess what? It drops off right there in front of the designated building.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
There are all kinds of things that we have kind of set up on the back end. Student engagement is a huge, important factor. Students that are engaged are successful. Pedagogies of engagement like cooperative and collaborative learning and that sort of thing, but also the student can be engaged in extracurricular and know, oh, that's the person that's my go-to person, and have that go-to person.
Right.
And so our real goal is for students to not just be a number, for us to really sit down with them, know their families. And that's really, I think, how you define student success.
I think that is amazing. I mean,
Love it.
first of all, we have 3, TCC is community college, but anyway, university grade institutions in Tallahassee, and all three of them now have schools.
Yes, my sister's a teacher at Florida High. Woo woo.
Yes.
But yes, it's very similar to what Florida High, and we are not. It will not be a lab school.
Right.
It's a charter, but so it's different but similar. In other areas that you talked about from your call last time, we're looking at cybersecurity, computer programming and web development, engineering technology, business management, dental hygiene. And then upon enrollment, really, the students will have the opportunity to gain more information because I mean, what ninth grader knows exactly what they want to do?
Right.
I mean, I knew I wanted to be a teacher, but what ninth grader knows exactly what they want to do, right? So we will have opportunities for them to immerse themselves in these different fields during their ninth grade year to figure out what exactly do I want to do, or what really interests me, or I'm into computers. Well, it's not just this one thing. There are all these other aspects and all these other AS degrees. So we're selecting some AS degrees that they could try or that they could go down. However, we also will allow them to look at, TCC offers 14 different programs in STEM. So the world is their oyster, and we will sit down with them and strategically plan out and let them know that, okay, in order to do this one, you're going to have 2 summers, but you're going to do it. But it's free college for kids. All of this is coming at no cost to them or their families. They will not leave with debt. If they don't finish within the year, it's not a big deal. They can come back and do another semester. It'll be okay, you know?
Wow.
And so, you know, we just want to provide the access to the programs and then the support to the students to make sure that they can do it.
If you have just tuned in, I know that you have I saw somebody said this is some good information. You are listening to Conscious Check with Christy Henry. We have as our guest today Mark O'Brien, President of Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, Anthony Jones, Associate Vice President of Academic Affairs, and our newest Director of Charter Schools for Tallahassee Community College, Jessica Chapman. Stay tuned. We're going to be back in about a minute and a half, and we're going to continue this awesome conversation with my guest co-host, Apostle Pastor Reverend Otis Young. Woo! Y'all.
You're packing a lot of information. In
Man, listen, I know y'all on here for our listening audience. I know this was a fire hydrant of information, but I think what we have to do is we have to make sure that we line it up, because the folks on the line, and I see y'all these daycare providers, I see y'all these educators on the line, I see y'all these mentoring programs on the line. We got to make sure that we are lining this up so we can know who we need to contact, where the opportunities are, because the daycares have parents that need to possibly plug in on their level. And then these kids, getting them so that they understand what these opportunities are earlier and experientially. So this is so exciting. OMW. Oh, y'all. Okay, y'all stay tuned. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. We are back. Listen, we talked through the whole break. We didn't even have a break. All right. Hey, Doc, do we have any callers on the line? No callers? Okay, if you are listening, you can call in and ask your questions. We are here for you. This is Conscious Check. And if you're just tuning in, we have an awesome panel of passionate experts here talking about this conversation about economic development one-on-one and dealing with it from educational attainment and how we get there. How do we get our community to the next level of educational attainment so that they can experience economic attainment? We have here the president of Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare, Mr. Mark O'Brien. We have the associate vice president of academic affairs at Tallahassee Community College, Mr. Anthony Jones, and our newest director of charter schools, Ms. Jessica Chapman, who hails from Godby. So for all the Godby folks on the line, y'all give her a shout out. She's at TCC developing that new initiative there. Listen, so we've said a lot, right? And you're within education. What are some key points listening to that? Because it was like a fire hydrant. I was like, oh, sorry, I get really excited. It was amazing, right?
Yes.
But what are your key takeaways as an educator? And Anthony, maybe you can jump in as well. What are the key takeaways you get from all of this effort that they're putting together?
This effort, you know, and what I got from her was mainly a lot of barriers have been removed.
Okay.
A lot of times when we look at education, and depending upon where you reside or the culture where where you're coming from, there's certain barriers and certain things that exist within the family that become barriers. And what she began to talk about was all the things that are needed for us to set up for optimal success.
Optimal success.
Yes, not just any kind of success. She said, hey, listen, we'll work with you. We'll meet you halfway. You can come back. You can try this. You can try that. It's optimal success. And you want an optimal environment for students to be able to succeed. Safe school environment, all of the key components, you know what I'm saying? I kind of like she was cooking my collard greens. There was a little bit of hot sauce there, a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of everything mixed all up together. It tastes real good there. And I think it's, you know, and that's my relatable piece. That I think that it was key that with all the elements that you were talking about that is needed to make sure that our children are successful.
That's right. That's right. So let's go back to the ecosystem. I want to hit on you, Mr. Jones. You know, we go from people who are employed having access to scholarships, all under the realm of promotion and economic attainment. We go to the training, academic affairs, focusing on the construction trades, the health trades, the technology trades, all in this avenue and effort for educational that leads to economic attainment. Then we go to 9th and 12th, constructing a school that actually feeds into and supplements the goal here on the grown-up past 18 side, right? To be able to experience experiential education that leads to educational attainment, that leads to economic attainment. Am I right in assuming that the goal here is economic attainment?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Absolutely.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know you've been on all levels of community, of Mark as well. Talk about how important that is.
Well, I said it earlier. I mean, for our community to have the sustainability, for it to be able to have, addressing even crime rate.
Mm-hmm.
Crime is a factor when there's people who do not have access or do not have the opportunity to make a livable wage. They revert to these things. So
Yes.
I think it's important in our community where we see crime is starting to really become a significant factor, something that I've been here since 1992, going over 30 years, and it's never been as bad as it is now. So I think we have an opportunity. We have the right people at the table who are focused on it, and you're seeing a collective impact from that.
Yes.
I also go back to what my colleague just stated about access and opportunity. Well, access without support, there is no opportunity.
Wait a minute, hold on. Run that back. Run that back. Okay.
Access without support is not any opportunity.
That's the post right there.
And we have support mechanisms built in at the college. We follow a mantra of the College of Care, which is our connections, our access, our resources, and engagement. And that's going to trickle down into our high school. Our support for our students stands from the fact that we have academic success coaches who are there to help students when they start falling off the track. I mean, they don't have to just worry about their courses. We have people there to help them navigate those hard pitfalls that they run into. But going to the question again, it's vital that we are educating, providing many opportunities. It doesn't have to be the credit-bearing side of the house. That's our academic affairs. In our workforce education development area, where VP Moore oversees, we have 90-day less credentials for students to come in and get in. While these may not be those well-known credit courses or degrees, they lead to good economic opportunities. They also could be a springboard to the student coming into a credit-bearing course. So having that having the college, having all these various on-ramps, as I like to say.
Yes.
You know, there's this big road here, but there's many different ways to get on, and the destination is the same, and that's economic vitality for the graduate.
I don't think people oftentimes recognize the importance of economic vitality across all sectors of our community.
Say that.
They, you look, crime is an example. People oftentimes look at communities in compartmentalized measures. I mean, if you live in the Northeast, that's your community. If you live in South Side, that's your community. But the truth matter is, if we want to have a great community, you can't look at it in component parts. You have to look at it as a whole, because we all contribute, we all impact it. Walt McNeil, who is a friend and a great member of our community, of course, he talks about you don't solve crime with more jail cells.
Come on now.
That's not how you solve crime.
Yes.
How you solve crime is you give people economic opportunities, give them an economic alternative to crime, give them an education, give them a job, give them a trade. And people create not only an economic base for them to prosper, but it creates stability in the home.
That's right.
It gives
Yes.
their families a safe environment. It gives kids an opportunity to thrive in a safe environment, in an environment where people can move forward. I think I mentioned earlier in one of our conversations, we talked about the Children's Services Council
Yes.
and the role of the Children's Services Council. And this is what Sheriff McNeil tells you. They plan on the number of prison cells based upon third grade reading scores.
Yes.
They
You're
project
right.
out. And what we need to recognize is that a lot of that really is at the very, very early stage. 80% of brain development is in the first 3 years. 90% is in the first 5 years. And if you don't capture a child in, it's hard for them to catch up. And we need to give every child, I think that's the goal of the CSC. I think that should be all of our goals,
Mhm.
is to give every child in this community a fighting chance. Every
Yes.
kid is born in this world with they're an open slate.
That's
I mean,
right.
it's our job to give them the opportunity to be successful
Correct.
and to prosper. And a lot of that's also by engaging the parents. Actually, a personal hero of mine, I don't know if y'all know her, Principal Connors,
Yes.
Carmen
Yes.
Connors
Mhm.
at Pineview.
Yes.
And Carmen has done an incredible job with those
Incredible.
kids. But what she's also done is she's done an incredible job of engaging the parents, which is
Right.
translated into
Yes.
her really moving that school from, I think it was an F school when she
Yes.
came into, now it's a B school.
Yes.
Mm.
That is
Awesome.
phenomenal performance. But it's really taking these children, engaging the parents, taking these children, and really giving their brains the opportunity to be successful
That's
moving
right.
forward.
Ooh.
And I think that's, as we look at our community, we need to look at these children, these kids, as they are our investment of the future. I mean, every
Correct.
kid they are an investment. We got to look at it as an investment, like a business. You invest early and you look for those returns.
Mm.
And in this case, the returns are going to be a high quality, high stable, high functioning community where
Mhm.
people can prosper.
And Mr. Young, you know that your kids right now, they're 3, 4, 5 years old, but in
Yes.
20 years,
Yes.
they're going to be who we're talking about, right?
Right.
They're going to be the next crop, and that goes really, really quickly, right?
Yeah, it flies.
It flies. I'm thinking about what I'm going to look like in 20 years, right? But these kids will be the next crop of local economic stability and leadership,
Yes.
right? And so I think what you said was so critical. I really want to run back that point of giving their brains the opportunity, because when children are on survival, they cannot learn. They cannot digest anything other than survival. They are worried. They are wired to worry about things that their little minds should not have
Correct.
to worry about. And I just want to kind of talk about that, right? Because when we talk about economic attainability, inflation, right? The cost of living,
Yes.
it's not going down. How many of y'all are buying gas at 99 cents? Nobody, right? It's not going down. It's going to be more expensive. And therefore, if we're not careful, it's going to be really more expensive. But they have to have the ability to navigate financially and continue to lead in this community. And that's why this conversation is so important.
Correct.
For sure.
It is very much important. I think and I'm making conscious effort. That conscious check is stuck with me, but that birth to 8, birth to 3, birth to 5 is so key for the brain development. And depending upon what I've seen and my experiences, can infect or affect my brain development as it relates to that. So those experiences are key. I think we have to teach the value system of early childhood education. I made the mistake when I started out 20 plus years ago. We put our less educated individuals in the younger grades. But now my philosophy is I need a master's degree, bachelor's degree, even in that area, because that area of development is so key if I want to see it lifelong readers by the time they get to third grade. And so I think we have to make a conscious effort to stress the importance of that it's not just daycare, it's not just childcare, but this is a form of learning, and we need that. We need little Johnny, we need Shaniqua at school every day. Just like you value going to Pineview or Agape, it's the same thing, because things are occurring in this that you will see much later on in life. And so I agree, we have to make that a conscious effort. And like I've been in education for 20 plus years now, I'm on second generation. So some of these students I've taught or their children were in childcare and they're showing up and say, hey, Mr. Young, hey, Mr. Otis. And I'm looking like, wait a minute, you have children? Wow.
Sir.
Yeah.
Sir.
Sika Rose Green always reminds us they're not child care centers, they're child development centers.
Child development, yes,
That's what
yes.
they should be.
That's
Yes,
right.
developing, yes.
That's right.
Yes.
And some of y'all are adult development centers. So can you speak to that? I know you can speak to that very plainly.
Absolutely, and it's it's hard sometimes because you got to meet those individuals where they're coming from. I will say our institution's a little different than some other community colleges. We have more traditional age students, meaning 18 to 20 some years old. But in our workforce, we do have a lot of returning adults. We have some who are coming back to get their GED. And we see a great number of those students who are able to go through the program, come out, and I've attended those graduations before, and it's probably more endearing to me to see those graduates than it maybe even see some of our associates that are graduating, because these were individuals who had probably been cut off from education.
Yes.
Some had been written off and didn't think that they had the aptitude to even
Yes.
take on getting their general equivalence diploma. And some of them have even gone into our credit bearing sides. I've seen them go from the GED all the way up through their associates and even to their bachelor's. degree.
Yes.
So that adult learning, we have to be able to meet them where they are to get them where they're trying to go to.
I like the term, meet them where they are.
For sure. And as the newbie on the block, I have to say that Tallahassee Community College is Tallahassee's community college.
It is.
They
Yeah.
are the most student-centered institution. I'm still the newbie on the block, and the honeymoon phase is over because the work got real.
It didn't take long, did it?
No, it didn't take long. But let me tell you, I found my people.
Oh,
These are people that really
Wow.
care about our community. Their initiatives with the 32304 zip code. On the first day of college, everybody was out making sure everybody got to class. I saw some old students and they're like, Miss Chapman, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm just here making sure you got to class, baby.
oh my goodness.
I'm just like, follow me to college. What's going on? But I mean, they really are so student centered.
Have mercy. You know what I think about when I think about what he said earlier about economic vitality being a very low value, it's not valued enough. I think workforce development as a term ain't valued enough, right?
Correct.
Because that's where that term relates really on the microeconomic level way before it ever resonates on the macro, right?
Right.
It's on the people level first, before it becomes a data point, right? And so I'm listening and I'm thinking about the people who are listening saying, ooh, there's some good stuff. How do we get involved? How do we, first of all, if I've got a son or daughter that works at TMH, how can I give them a swift kick and say, look, you need to be looking into this program?
Correct.
Because what I love also about our institutional employers here is that they are on the cutting edge of trying to make sure that they don't just work a worker, they develop workers, they develop professionals. And so when it comes to being able to make sure there's incentives for education, incentives for housing, where do you see the future going in terms of attracting good talents with those types of benefits?
Where we see going with quality of life on housing, isn't it?
Quality of, yes.
Well, housing is a whole different matter, and it's a challenge for everybody. Actually, this is something we address in healthcare all the time, because you can hire good people, but if they can't afford to live in your community,
Yes.
they're going to go somewhere else. I'm on the Florida Hospital Association board as well, and one of the conversations, I chair a workforce committee, and one of the things we talk about is how do you find opportunities for people to get into affordable housing. And there's some grants that we're working with. I think a lot of people are involved in them. It's a statewide initiative where people can tag into those. What is the name of it? MQ. Oh, I'm blanking, but I'm sure we could get that information out there. But people can basically apply to it and get grants to help with affordable housing.
Oh, wow.
About a quarter of those are in healthcare. So I know that if a quarter of them are in healthcare, that means 3/4 of them are not. So
Right.
it's available to everybody. But it's not just that. It's how to basically manage your dollars. We just entered into a Faf Kasem, Claire Clements, others at TMH We're involved with Blue Cross. In fact, Darnell, if you know Darnell,
Mhm.
was involved in this one. We just drew down a grant of about $300,000 for food security,
Oh,
to create
wow.
food security, and it's through our TMH EAP Employment Assistance Program, but that connects with a lot of different employers. In fact, 64,000 employees are tagged to that, but they can apply to this. And what it's designed to do is to give them some upfront support financially for food security, but also it's a multiple month engagement, also to teach them how to manage their dollars,
Yes.
better what foods to buy to manage your health better, and basically move them to the pathway. So it's not just giving them food, giving them money, it's
Right.
giving them a pathway on how to manage your dollars, manage your diet, and that one is available to our community as well. But it's one of those
Wow.
things that a lot of people they don't grow up with the tools on how do you manage an
That's
income.
right. That's
Right.
right.
You know, it's you manage for the day. Believe me, I've got kids who sometimes some are very responsible, others they manage to the day, and so you know, I probably should take more opportunities for teachable moments, but this is really to help people learn how to manage within their resources.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right. And I think that that's also applicable to the students and the goodness knows when we were in college, we didn't know what the world we were doing financially. And I'm sure there's programs on the collegiate level because again, it all factors into this thing called economic attainability. And you can make a lot of money, but you can spend a lot of money too, right?
Correct.
And not have anything. Can you speak to some of the things that TCC is doing in that realm as well?
Well, we do have through our student affairs, we know food insecurity for one is a major issue for our students, for our community as a whole, but importantly for our community, for our students at TCC. So we're very happy that we were able to partner with Walmart, who helped us with really standing up I think a unique type of food pantry
Wow.
where it is you come in, you can get things off the shelf. It used to be we just give a bag to the students, but now they can come in almost shopping as if they were in a store. And our community, our faculty and staff, they actually give to this pantry so it can keep it stocked. So I think that's one thing that we're doing. We also know transportation is a barrier. So
Yes.
while we are a commuter campus, we do provide discounted bus rates for our students that can buy from our cashier's office, so that is not a barrier for them getting to class. We also make sure we offer modalities, multiple modalities. Some students, where even if they don't live in the community in this district, because Caltrain or MedStar Metro, that's a Leon County, maybe Gaston, but if they're down in Wakulla or even outside of in Jefferson or other counties nearby, they can take online courses, even take synchronous Zoom classes. So offering the various modalities so we can meet the students again where they are,
Right.
so that they can have those opportunities for access is very important. And even supporting them through virtual networks, like our Learning Commons is a one-stop shop to come and get help for assistance. But we also have a lot of those services virtually available. Same with our library.
Wow.
So I think that's one ways that we're speaking to understanding that the economic barriers of transportation or being able to afford housing in the community to go to school here, they can stay at home, they can still be able to get an online, get their degree by taking online courses or not having to come here as often.
Wow. Wow. So are we going to have, and I know we could talk about this for 2 hours. I want to end on this. Are we going to have, I know a couple of weeks ago, they had an amazing hiring fair, job fair over at the Orange Avenue
Yes.
Apartments. And they had over 60 applications from community folk that just came applying. I think it was through partnerships with TCC's workforce development. What's the future, right, of on-the-job apprenticeship training, and how does that factor into the academic modalities that are currently in place? Because I know there's a balance there, right? What's the future of that? How does that play out?
I think it's going to depend a great deal on our community partners to be able to provide those those apprenticeship opportunities. I will say that is definitely more on our workforce side, and schools and institutions like Lively have those abilities because that's a more focused area of them. But I do see that apprenticeships like internships are key to giving students opportunities to see whether or not this is a field that they are interested in truly going down. Apprenticeships also offer pay at the same time, as well as the training that they can get at that current moment. But I think it is something that is going to be dependent upon our community partners, business partners. One of the things that we're doing, all of our AS degree programs that we offer, and as my colleague stated, we have quite a number of them. They all have advisory boards.
Mhm.
We're going through a process right now of really sitting down and identifying who's on our advisory boards. How are they helping us to really bring our students into their companies, not just for apprenticeships or internships, but for gainful
That's
employment
right.
afterwards.
Ooh, that's good.
So if you're not doing that, then we're not inviting you back onto the board. And it's nothing personal, but we need to be effective and we need the outcomes to match what we are telling our students, that they can come here and get gainful employment after receiving their degree credentials.
It needs to be strategic. And so what we're hoping at the charter school level, at the high school level, that, so if you know school calendars, the academic school year, the number of days that are required for a high school student are different than the college calendar.
Right.
And so there will be some time at the end of every semester where students have a week or so of no class. And so we will use that to have week-long immersive experiences for the students in their fields of study,
Mm.
utilizing the advisory boards and the companies that we have made connections with. Ultimately, the goal is when they graduate with their high school diploma and their AS degree, they're either choosing to continue their education or signing on with a job upon graduation,
It also gives the employers exposure to these students, and
for sure.
it oftentimes serves as a PR.
Right, and so that's gonna go back to the opportunity divide that we were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
It's going to help fix this.
I am looking forward to seeing the outcomes of this
Yes.
very intentionally, it appears very intentionally designed process, ecosystem of attainment. Any final thoughts from you all as guests? First of all, this has been an amazing conversation. Any final thoughts?
We need our young people in this community to basically engage with the work environment, and help us help you find those opportunities for you to be successful. And I do agree. I think the conversation around here is every person's different. And it's not just finding a job, it's finding a job that you really enjoy. No one needs to wake up in the morning dreading going to work. And there are plenty of opportunities out there, I think. But it's just figuring out which one that is, and believe me, you can go through the demographics. There's a great article called The Demographic Drought. Read it. It's actually frightening. You read that and you realize every single person out there, we need to get them involved in the workforce.
Wow.
And there are jobs available. We just need to help them be successful in getting that right pathway.
Ooh, that's a good message. Yes, sir.
If you're interested in retooling yourself, if you're interested in making yourself better and making yourself competitive, come to the college. We've got a program, we've got a degree, we've got a credential that is right for you.
Yeah.
Our advisors are ready to speak with you. Anyone in our office, you come in there, we'll sit down and we'll talk with you. So just make that first step and then we'll take it from there.
And TCC is an incredible asset
Yes,
to our community. It really is.
yes, it is.
If you're interested in the TCC Charter School, you can go to TCC's website and just Google charter, and you can find a one-pager where you can fill out an interest form, or you can email charter@tcc.fl.edu.
Now, when are you opening? Are the doors already open?
August 2023
August
for
20th
9th and 10th grade.
for 9th and 10th grade. I want to restate that, y'all mamas and aunties on the line and daddies and uncles. August
2023.
2023.
This coming August. So the school choice window, for those of you selecting high schools, the school choice window will open when we get back from Christmas break in January. And so that's the time to fill out the interest form so that we can have your name and information.
Look, this has been amazing. It's 3:00. Doc gonna kick us out of here. We have so much more. This is part one of the conversation, right? This is not a complete done conversation, and we will be going on the road and crusading because you're absolutely right. We have got to get the young people to help us help them. And I think this is a small piece of that, getting out there in front of them and letting them know, look, this is what the ecosystem is. Let's work with our parents, grandparents, uncles, aunties, fathers, mothers to make sure that we get them in the cycle and get them the information they need to be able to have the opportunities that are presented. That's how we bridge the divide. Is that right, Pastor Young?
That is it. And listen, I've enjoyed myself. I just want to encourage somebody to get up. We got the information.
That's right.
The conscious check has been made. Let's get up and let's be about it, or let's apply the information. Inbox with DM me. I'll point you in the right direction.
That's right. That's right. Now that you woke, you got to get up and walk.
Yes,
All
yes,
right. Well, thank y'all so much for tuning in to our December edition of Conscious Check. Shout out to Pastor Greg James, and the
Overseer.
Greg James Community Overseer. Look, he gonna be back on next week. But before y'all tune in, we wanted to wish you all a happy holidays, a blessed holiday season.
Yes.
We look forward to joining you in January.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you all, and Merry
Yes.
Christmas.
Thank you. Enjoy.
If you're online, listen, thank y'all for tuning in. We will post all of the links that we talked about on the stream so you can have access to the information. And we look forward to seeing y'all next week on the Greg James Community Show platform.
I love it. You can send me everybody contact information.